Well, maybe the machine's running. Good day, ladies and gentlemen. The name of this little YouTube video is called Your Balance of Invisible Wealth. Seems a funny title, but firstly I'll just mention a bit about myself. I'm 82 years old. I've been an amateur at most things in my life, even running my business. For 45 years I was a bit amateurish. Ever since I was nine years old, I've been on playing fields of various types all over the world, and I still stagger around trying to be an amateur sportsman, swimming a bit, staggering around half a golf course, and playing a bit of chess. And for the last 30 years, I've been an amateur watercolor painter. I may show you a few of those just out of interest, just to show you that if I can do simple, understandable, and reasonably strong paintings, non-intellectualized, then I may be able to talk about simple, understandable philosophies which make good, simple, natural sense, which is what this little video is about. And 35 years ago, about 1988, when I was 47 years old, I began becoming an amateur philosopher because I thought the Western world was heading in the wrong direction. So that's when the bee in my bonnet started buzzing, and that's when I started writing things down, cartoons to make myself easily understood, text, simple text. Anyway, amongst all this jumble, the first sign of my philosophy came out in a self-published little book in 2005 called Phil the Fluter's Game of Life. Anyway, part of all this philosophy that came up or developed was this simple thing called invisible wealth. And I think I must have thought, well, if our country's accountants can keep a record of how much the GDP, how much of the GDP is accounted for by invisible earnings, I said to myself, well, why don't we take this invisible earnings or invisible wealth? If you do good things, you earn invisible wealth, and if you do bad things, you lose invisible wealth. So I said, why don't we take this simple concept of your balance of invisible wealth and relate it to each and every individual, because each and every individual will gain invisible wealth if he does good things, and will lose invisible wealth if he does bad things. So it's just something that I thought it's reinventing the two most important words in our vocabulary, goodness and badness. Because obviously if there's a surfeit of badness, our world, civilizations will break down and our environment will collapse. It's already more or less collapsed. So we've got to start bringing back goodness. So anyway, that's the concept, invisible wealth. And I thought it would be a good thing to write to all the schools in the country, because all of a sudden sustainability, that's the big word today, sustainability of the environment is one of the top subjects. And I thought, rather than getting technical about the environment or what's good or what's bad for it, I just suggested to the schools that they concentrate on goodness and badness. So Here's the letter I wrote to 435 schools about a couple of years ago. I think it was shortly after I wrote roughly the same thing to COP26 when it was in Glasgow. So I'll try just reading the letter, which is a very simple letter. You'll see it's called The Balance of Invisible Wealth. Excuse me for taking off my glasses, but anyway, I'll go just read it. It says it's dear. It would be dear headmaster, so and so. This concept of invisible wealth, this concept is simply about putting new clothes on the two most important words in human civilization: goodness and badness. Stop. In the hope of increasing sales of goodness in our now very modern world. Human societies and the environment would not survive if there was a surfeit of badness over goodness. Quite simple. The biggest thing on the world today can be reduced just to those two words. If we're good, we have a chance of sustaining life on earth. If we're bad, we lose that chance. Second paragraph, good action happens when good human manners, which are all about self-restraint for the sake of others, overcome our stronger natural instincts of self-survival, which cause us to be selfish, lustful, greedy, and aggressive. Stop. These selfish actions are considered bad because they would destabilize societies and ruin the environment. Paragraph. Invisible wealth is the feeling you get when you have practiced any good action, because it means you have overcome your own strong natural selfish instincts and instead voluntarily done something to help another person or another thing. In other words, you've been good to either your neighbors or to the environment. You don't receive material reward like money or a medal for doing this, which are visible for others to see. Instead, your reward is that good feeling inside you, which no one else can see. And the reverse is true. If you do any bad action, even if no one else sees you doing it, you will feel bad inside, which will subtract from your bank balance of invisible wealth. Simple. Good actions, your invisible wealth goes up. Bad actions, it goes down. You can see, this paragraph, you can see from what has been said that it is everyone's actions that count, not the words they say. This was the main message in a letter I sent to 150 delegates and speakers at the recent COP26 climate summit in Glasgow. Namely, you can forget about all the people who talk the talk, all the leaders of industries and banks in our countries. They're the talkers, because the people who really matter are all those who walk the walk, which are ordinary folk like you and me. Paragraph. Having written my letter to the top people and the talkers and receiving no response, I did in fact get a very kind acknowledgement from the office of our late Queen, and also from Virginia McKenna of Born Free. Anyway, having got no response from any of the delegates, I woke up to the fact that I should, of course, be trying to get the message out to the walkers instead of the high-up talkers. And of course, the best walkers are those walkers at school, who contain most of the energy and who have the longest walks ahead of them, as they are just starting out in life. Hence my approach to the schools, who may get some ideas from what is enclosed. They may want to make up their own school message or chart or cartoons or sort of measuring scale, and even go beyond that and encourage every child to make up his or her own personal cartoons and measuring scale and scoring point system, which he or she can take home and follow and amend as they grow older. So that's just a nice simple concept for every child to make up his own little scale of goodness and badness and give himself points and deduct points. So he'll know the state of the bank balance, his own bank balance of invisible wealth, and hopefully he'll want it to increase and increase. As you can see from the COP letter, I myself am nearly off the scale age-wise, but if there is any merit in this concept of invisible wealth, and you think it might help more goodness come about, especially for the sake of the environment, then the more young brains that see this message, the better. So that's the simple letter. I do a couple of attachments, which I'll go through in a continuing video, but we'll take a break right here. I hope the video's worked and you've understood some of it. Thank you. Bye.